Sergio Perez is going through a tough phase at Red Bull. In the last GPs, he was eliminated early in qualifying and had to retire from the races in Monaco and Montreal. Additionally, Perez received penalties that directly affect his performance and the team's position in the Constructors' Championship. The recent contract renewal until 2026 is now under question, especially with the growing pressure from teams like McLaren and Ferrari. Christian Horner and the team have high expectations, and the situation is becoming increasingly critical for Perez. In Monaco, he was eliminated in Q1, which already indicated a tough weekend. During the race, an almost inevitable accident, considering his position on the grid, ended his chances of scoring points. It wasn't just an isolated mistake, but a series of events showing how out of control the situation was. Then, in the Canadian GP, Perez repeated the Q1 elimination and once again failed to finish the race. These two consecutive retirements, combined with poor qualifying performances, have been a significant problem not just for him, but for the team as a whole. Moreover, Perez has been consistently outperformed by his teammate Max Verstappen, which adds even more pressure. While Verstappen continues to deliver results and stay on top, Perez struggles to keep up, raising questions about his ability to contribute effectively to the team. The impact on the Constructors' Championship is significant. With Red Bull facing fierce competition from teams like McLaren and Ferrari, the need for both drivers to score regularly is more crucial than ever. The penalties Sergio Perez has received recently further complicate his situation at Red Bull. In the Canadian GP, after an accident that damaged his car, he continued on the track with the vehicle in unsafe conditions, resulting in a 3-place grid penalty for the next race in Barcelona. Additionally, Red Bull was fined $225,000 for this incident. These penalties are not just a reflection of Perez's mistakes, but also an indication of the team's strategic decisions. Red Bull opted to keep Perez on track to avoid a safety car deployment, but this ended up causing more problems. This decision, though understandable from a strategic standpoint, raises doubts about the team's ability to manage crisis situations effectively. The 3-place grid penalty is particularly concerning given Perez's recent qualifying performances. He has already been struggling to get out of Q1, and this penalty only increases the pressure for him to improve his performance. Starting further back on the grid not only makes it harder to score points, but also increases the risk of getting involved in accidents, as we have seen in previous races. These complications make Perez's mission even more challenging. Red Bull needs both of its drivers consistently in the top positions to maintain an advantage in the Constructors' Championship, especially with the growing competitiveness of other teams. Sergio Perez's contract renewal until 2026 initially seemed like a vote of confidence from Red Bull. However, recent statements from Helmut Marko and Christian Horner indicate that this renewal might not be as guaranteed as it seems. Despite the contract, there are clauses that allow the team to terminate the agreement early if Perez's performance does not meet expectations. This possibility puts Perez in a delicate position where every race can be decisive for his future with the team. Helmut Marko highlighted that all Formula One driver contracts have performance clauses. This means that despite the 2-year contract, Red Bull can choose to replace him if he doesn't improve his results. This situation is further complicated by the additional pressure from other drivers on the grid, like Yuki Tsunoda, who are showing competitive performance and could be considered for Perez's seat. Performance clauses are not uncommon in Formula One, but Perez's situation is particularly complicated due to the team's current context. With McLaren and Ferrari closing in, Red Bull needs a second driver who can consistently fight for points and support Max Verstappen in the Constructors' Championship battle. So far, Perez has not been able to fulfill this role effectively. This uncertainty about his future adds more pressure on Perez, who is already struggling to stay competitive. Comparisons between Sergio Perez and other drivers on the grid have not been favorable for the Mexican. One of the most notable comparisons is with his teammate, Max Verstappen. While Verstappen has been consistently fast and effective, Perez has struggled to keep up, both in qualifying and races. Perez is falling behind relative to drivers from theoretically inferior teams. In a sport where individual performance is crucial, Being consistently outperformed by drivers from smaller teams is a clear sign that something is not going well. This situation further complicates Perez's position at Red Bull. With the team needing consistent results to remain competitive in the Constructors' Championship, having a driver who cannot keep up with direct rivals is a significant problem. With teams like McLaren and Ferrari quickly closing in, Red Bull needs consistent results from both drivers to maintain their advantage. The competition on the grid is fiercer than ever. McLaren, with their new version of the MCL38, has shown impressive performance, frequently challenging Red Bull in various races. Ferrari, despite their inconsistencies, remains a constant threat, especially on tracks where their car adapts better. The situation is further complicated by Mercedes, who have shown signs of recovery and are starting to become a threat again. With so many strong rivals, Red Bull's margin for error is minimal. Every point counts, and the need to maximize results in each race is vital. To make matters worse, Red Bull has been facing technical difficulties. The car is not as dominant as in the early races of the season. Reliability issues and a narrow operating window for new upgrades have made the team's job more difficult. This means Red Bull can no longer rely solely on Max Verstappen's skill to secure victories and important points. Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, has been clear about his expectations for Sergio Perez. After recent disappointing performances, Horner highlighted the need for a quick and effective recovery from the Mexican driver. He specifically mentioned that Perez needs to return to the form he showed at the beginning of the year. Horner stated that the weekend in Montreal was particularly difficult for Perez, and that the team needs both cars consistently scoring points to remain competitive in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull's luck in Montreal, where Ferrari also had a poor performance, is not something the team can rely on in every race. The situation is further complicated by the three-place grid penalty Perez will have to serve at the next race in Barcelona. This puts even more pressure on him to qualify well and avoid problems during the race. Horner emphasized that Perez needs to start delivering results immediately from Barcelona onwards. Checo's situation is far from easy. He's been dealing with performance issues, penalties, and increasing pressure from the team and other drivers. Even with the contract renewal until 2026, the reality is that every race becomes a test of his ability to stay competitive. But will Perez manage to turn things around and deliver the performance everyone expects? Or will we see Red Bull looking for alternatives in the driver market? Only time will tell. Stay tuned to our channel for more updates and analysis on everything happening in the world of Formula One. See you next time.